Hi. Okay, we're going to put the spoon down. Okay. What an eagle taught us about designing for all learners. When did you last design a task for all your students? Think about it honestly. Not most of them, all of them in the room. Usually we aim for the middle and we kind of like the average and hope the edges get it, or we differentiate by giving different students completely different work. The advanced group, they just get more work to do. As they finish, they just get more. Whereas the struggling ones will get these special worksheets. Today, we're going to look at about why that approach is wrong. Let's move on. I want you to look at this image of the eagle. Think about it for a moment. Don't try to analyze it. Just look. What do you notice? What do you feel? And like a thunderbolt, he falls. This is the last line of our 6-line poem. Power or loneliness? What is this image about? Just think about it. Notice what your brain just did. It immediately tried to solve this puzzle. And you started looking for the right answers. What does the teacher want me to say? Hold this thought. We're coming back to it. Okay. When you sit down to plan your lessons, which of these 2 words come to your head? Challenging or interesting? If you walk into a classroom and everybody's sweating and they're furrowing their brows and they look stressed, our instinct is to say, good, they're learning, no pain, no gain. But that is only half of the story. A task can be hard, but still be completely boring. Think about this. I could ask you right now to copy out the dictionary backwards, by hand, in a very hot room. It would be incredibly hard and you'll be stressed. You'd have to focus. But are you learning anything? No. You're just surviving. You're just trying to get to the end of the dictionary so you can go home. That is the exact distinction. Struggle is not the same as learning. What actually pulls our students in is what makes them want to do the hard thing is interest. When they care about their work. When they are only complying, they switch off. The brain goes into power save mode, doing the bare minimum just to avoid punishment. Our job isn't to be a drill sergeant making them sweat. Our job is to be the architect making people care, because once they care, they will do the hard work willingly. Difficulty gets students through the task. Interest gets students into the task. Think about that for a minute. Vocabulary drills, grammar exercises, quote matching, these are all very useful. I'm not saying to you to throw them away, but they are the runway, not the destination. Think about it. If you can't analyze a poem, if you don't know what the words mean, you do need the runway to take off. The problem is many of our lessons, the runway becomes the entire trip. We spend the whole lesson taxiing around on the tarmac. And then the bell rings. We never actually see our students fly. And there's a psychology behind this. Runway tasks are safe. They're easy to grade. It feels like productivity. But ask yourself, how many of your regular tasks are runway? and where exactly are they heading? Every simple task should be leading somewhere where students have to think, decide, and explain. Let's get them off the runway, up into the air, where learning really matters and where they can see the relevance of that learning. Think about a simple task that you use regularly. Where does it land? Is it on the runway or the destination? Let's have a look at what difficulty is and what complex is. Difficulty means there's a known path, like climbing a very steep staircase. Hard work. You may get out of breath, but you know exactly where you're going the whole time. One right answer, one right method. Whereas complex is completely different. There are multiple valid paths. Judgment required. You cannot predict what the student will say. In a difficult task, the teacher is the judge, right or wrong. Whereas in a complex task, the teacher might have to try and figure out and wrestle what the answer the student has given. Difficulty is checking boxes. Complex is making arguments. We have too much difficulty in our classrooms and not nearly enough complexity. And that's exactly what we need to change. Especially when we're meant to test them on the summative assessments, it's all about evidence, proving their point. Also, one day when they go into the real world, when a boss asks them something, there's not going to be the right answer. It's problem solving. It's them finding evidence, them coming up creatively with a solution. And this is what we're training them for. So what describes most of the tasks in your classroom? Think about what you gave. Was it difficult or was it complex? All right, we're going to read the eagle now. He clasped the crag with crooked hands, close to the sun in lonely lands, ringed with the azure world he stands. The wrinkled sea beneath him crawls, he watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt he falls. Am I going to give the students the difficult vocabulary? No. Why am I not going to give them the difficult vocabulary? They need to actually figure it out themselves. It's a skill they need. Giving them handouts with the translations on, it also signals to the weaker students that you expect them to struggle, which can be deflating. The moment of noticing they don't know something and trying to figure it out for themselves, that in itself is a huge learning moment worth preserving. They need to know how to read and decode words in context. And rather than giving the answers, everyone keeps the same complex task, and it's actually a B1 appropriate reading skill worth building. So keep that in mind when you are planning. So let's have a look. It was a 6-line poem. It was not too much for them to actually decode, and they will be working through it with help, with scaffolding. The big thing here is everybody gets the same. It's not dumbed down. It's not made easier. It's something that they have to all master. But how they master it, that is where the decision-making comes from them, and they will then learn how to work with it. So every student, same poem, same frame. What changes is the entry point, not the thinking. If we have a look at this frame that I'm going to show you in a minute, I want you to think of a tomato plant. When you put up a trellis for a tomato plant to climb up, you just put the structure there and it automatically grows and grabs as it gets bigger. This is the same thing with this frame that we're going to look at now. Okay, so what it is, it's not a blank piece of white paper. That is scary for a student. But if you give them a graphic organizer or something that helps them, it becomes more doable for both the weak, the strong, and obviously the middle. So the frame gives structure without giving answers. That is the true definition of scaffolding. Spoon feeding is saying, here's what the eagle represents, write it down. Scaffolding is saying, here's the lens to help you figure out what the eagle represents. It puts the cognitive load entirely back on the student. They have to do the thinking themselves. The frame doesn't think for them. It just stops them from staring at this blank page. Now we're going to look at the anchor chart. So this is where choice comes in. The choice itself, again, is a thinking moment. This can be on the wall, you can put up on the board, or you can hand each student a piece of paper like this. Okay, there are 6 icons. You've got your details, your poet thing, your patterns, your ideas, your unanswered, and your ethics. Students choose. Notice there's no labels, easy, difficult. No, nothing that is going to let them think, oh, this is for the kids who really have no idea what they're doing, or this is for the smarty kids in the class. No, we don't want to label, because first of all, if it's got a label that it's too easy, they feel that they are doing something that's not relevant. And also if you label something too difficult, like it's for the stronger students, you're scaring the others off who could maybe even try and who will succeed in this. By removing the labels, you force them to actually read the options and make a real choice. And that act of choosing in itself is a thinking moment. They're navigating. They're not just complying anymore. They have to decide, does this fit my idea better with this sentence starter or that one? That is true judgment. That's already complexity happening before they've even written one single word. Again, it's students' choice. The choice in itself is thinking for that moment. Remember, we opened the poem with this poem about power or loneliness. This will open and close the lesson. Students make a gut guess before reading, just on instinct, no evidence, nothing. They work through the frame. At the very end, they return to this question and answer it properly with evidence, having earned their answer through the work. Now, think about what that question does pedagogically. If there's one right answer, students are just playing the guessing game, trying to find a hidden key inside your head, saying what they think you want to hear. But if it's genuinely ambiguous, the student becomes a creator of meaning. And that's the thunderbolt moment. When a student says, I think this poem is not about power at all. I think it's about fall and surrender. The eagle is exhausted by his own isolation, and they back it up with a text. That is when you find yourself thinking, wow, I never saw it that way. The kid did, but I didn't. This will validate your students more than any grade could. It lets them know that their brain is thinking differently, and it's worth more than a correct answer on a worksheet. Now, returning to one of the first things I said right at the beginning, when did you last design a task for all your students? We spend so much of our professional energy on students who are struggling. And that's what it should be. You're right. We have to help those kids because we will not leave any student behind. But what about the students who are already flying? Usually, we just give them more work. You finish in 5 minutes, yes, carry on with the next exercise. This is punishment for competence. It's just more work. What are they actually thinking? Your highest achievers may be doing the least amount of real thinking in your room because the system is designed to let them check the boxes. They already know how to do all of this. They're cruising through difficult tasks because they already know the path. They know the destination. That worksheet that I showed you, the anchor chart, there's a go deeper question. This is for anybody who wants to try it. It's a task with no ceiling. Nobody knows the answer. It's very ambiguous. It forces the high achievers to step into the unknown, to take a risk. And this is where they will be getting valuable learning. Every choice, the opening question, the frame, the anchor chart, the starters, was designed backward from one goal. We thought about all of our students in the classroom and giving them the choice in order to go wherever they need to go. So simple tasks should serve complex goals for every student, including especially the ones who look like they're doing fine. If you ask Siri or Alexa a question and they can answer it, that is where learning is not going to happen. It has to be something that will push them further into the thinking. And in your planning with thinking about reaching all your students and giving them choice, this is proper UDL, Universal Design for Learning. Not 3 different worksheets, one task, multiple entry points designed with intention before you walk into the room. All means all, including the weakest to the strongest. So that's basically it. The actual lesson that you can take into the class for your students, of where you would ask them some leading questions just to get their interest up. You can ask them the same thing about the eagle that I asked you and about the thunderbolt line. Let them discuss in groups, talking, because we want active learning. It's not a talk show where you stand in the front and just talk and they just throw answers back at you. No, they're meant to be doing this themselves. Give them the poem, read it through once to them, and leave them. Let them struggle with trying to figure out what these words mean. It'll become more meaningful for them and learning will be happening. So here you will explain to them the lenses of what they should choose, everything else. Not spoon feeding and not running on the runway forever, taxiing around the airport over and over again. It's letting them lift off and fly to where learning actually happens. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I'll be willing to help you. Thank you.